the high profile individuals that we work with, they eat, sleep, and poop like the rest of us. And that's how they want to be treated, quite honestly.
Hello and welcome to the Fractional Executive podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Kauth. This podcast is for owners of small businesses of $500,000 in annual revenue to up to around $10 million in annual revenue whose growth has plateaued. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share the podcast and give us a 5-star review. And that way we can grow the show and have great guests on the show that will then help you grow your business. My guest today is Chellee Siewert. Chellee is the founder and president of Capture Sports and Entertainment, a full-service marketing and PR and events firm working with athletes, celebrities, associations, nonprofits, and corporations. Her background is in association management and marketing in healthcare, nonprofits, and sports. And she served on several boards and board committees, including a United Way campaign cabinet member, and she's also a Board of Regents member at a college. Please welcome to the podcast, Chellee Siewert. Chellee, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You know, Chellee, when a business is stuck in their efforts to grow, how does marketing help with that?
You know what? Marketing can truly be an impetus to be able to jumpstart your company again. I think it's really important, though, to do targeted marketing, to be able to know who your customer is, who your client is, and be able to then build out exactly what the messaging should be and exactly who you're reaching out to.
You know, Chellee, your background in marketing helped you develop into an excellent marketing executive, but what did you have to learn in your personal executive leadership development to go from a top functional marketing executive to more of this strategic visionary CEO that's leading Capture and a college right now?
I think for me, which in talking to a lot of other entrepreneurs is similar, is that delegation, the ability and the willingness to delegate, and also recognizing that those that you delegate it to might not do it the exact same way that you have. And that's okay. And I always think about to have grace, that there's going to be missteps, that there's going to be mistakes made along the way, just as, when all of us started out. But to be able to develop that trust with your employees, to be able to delegate so that you can step away to work on your business itself versus working in your business.
When you were first delegating those kind of functional tasks that you really like to do and you were really good at, how did it make it easier for you to do that? Were there certain things you did? Did you try different things?
Well, first off, it was hard, but we continue to do it. And I think, for me, it was having that playbook, for a lack of a better word, to be able to hand over to those that you were delegating it to. So it wasn't like you were just saying, here, do this and go and try to do it. It was being able to have some of that documentation. It was being able to have some of that historical data to be able to assist them and help them. And then, give them that ownership. Be there for questions, be there for check-ins, but try as hard as you can, and it'll be hard at the beginning, to not be there for every functional task throughout that list.
Chellee, thanks for mentioning that, because these kind of nuggets and secrets, if you will, are really why this podcast was started. And so for the listeners and viewers out there, again, we want this to be interactive. So please drop your comments below. In addition to that, I would ask you to like and subscribe and follow and share the podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. As we grow the show, and you in turn can then grow your business, we have great guests on here like Chellee who can help you do that. Now, Chellee, we've known each other for a while, and it's probably no surprise to you that when I talk about you on occasion, I tell the story of how the Milwaukee Wave of Hope, or say J.J. Watt responding to his Houston Floods efforts, and then referred to you in that video as his publicist. And it was cool for me because I'm like, I know who he's talking about, right? you know, and in that video, but really when it comes down to it, your, doing good is good business and your athletes doing good mantras. I mean, tell me more about how those stories shaped you as a founder.
You know what? I was fortunate to grow up in a family that volunteering was part of us, was who we are, was what we were taught, and always knew that I wanted to do something that was ultimately going to be able to make an impact. And I think my experience of working in the nonprofit and some association management, and then ultimately for a sports team starting their foundation, provided me a lot of opportunities with that impact area. And I think one of the things that stands out for me is going into it with us working with a lot of athletes and entertainers. We know that whoever is meeting them, whoever is seeing them is going to be impacted. It could be their dream that's coming true. But for me, it's seeing them impacted. Like it's seeing them walk away wanting to do more. It's seeing them include and engage this individual, this child, whoever it may be, for years to come. That they create, an authentic friendship because of how touched and impacted they were by it. And so, for us, as I started Capture and it kind of continued to grow, we always went back to that doing good mantra and what does it look like? And from the athlete's point of view, especially nowadays, their philanthropic work has to be part of their brand. It has to be, that story has to be told to who they are. That is what individuals and companies that want to partner with them are looking for. And then vice versa on the corporate side, in the corporate culture, employees expect that, an employer is going to be philanthropic. So we created kind of that mantra of doing good is good business. It's from a company standpoint, it's engaging your employees. It's helping with retention. It's learning to know more about them on a personal basis. It could be tying to new business because of who you're supporting from a philanthropic standpoint. So again, being strategic, with your philanthropy, is it because it's something that's authentic to you and has touched your family? Is it something that your employees care deeply about and it's going to help you on that retention side? Or is it, on the new business side of things, going to potentially help you? So as with marketing earlier, being really targeted into why you're doing the things that you're doing. Because employees, partners, everybody wants individuals that are doing good, but are doing good for the right reason.
Chellee, you've been very intentional about who you hire at Capture and how you scaled your operations. Why has that been so important for the success of Capture?
In the work that we do with some high profile individuals, people can't be starstruck. It's just not going to work. And our mantra is, the high profile individuals that we work with, they eat, sleep, and poop like the rest of us. And that's how they want to be treated, quite honestly. And so, for me, I always have, from a business side of things, I always have identified what are probably going to be my next one or two positions that I'm going to hire for. And I also have identified who are 3, 4, 5, 6 people that I've networked with or that somebody else knows, that when it comes time for me to say, yep, we need this position, that I have individuals that I can go to. It's very, very rare that I post a general job, job opening. It is through networking. It is through individuals that I know or individuals that my team members know that that we find those individuals that would be good fits within us.
So, Chellee, you knew I was going to ask this question, but can you tell me a story about how an athlete or celebrity that you've worked with has impacted you in an extraordinary way? You don't have to say names. Um, in the beginning, you were talking about how it's important to you to see the athlete or celebrity client impacted. Now I want to turn the question back on you. How are you impacted by the work that you do and the athletes doing the work that they do?
I have so many stories. And that's the best part of my job, quite honestly. We always do at the end of a year with our team, we go through and share what our best experiences were for the year. And very similar to my teammates, it's never about the athlete. It's about those moments that we create. Um, and we recently had Ernie Johnson in, and he talked about BlackBerry moments, and those are what they are. Like, I finally have a name for those moments, but for me, it one individual in particular, not only impacts others, but the work that he did himself, because he knew that it was important, that he personally be involved. It wasn't that he was hiring us or working with us to do it and he was hands off. He was hands on, like, the entire process for it. But also then, being able to see those moments that happen between this athlete and a child. And one in particular, like, said to me, I don't want to go out and do the XYZ, the PR that I'm supposed to do. I want to sit in here and continue to play Legos with this child. And those are the moments. And we talk a lot about with the athletes that it has to be something that is authentic to you. You have a platform. You have a huge platform. And it's their responsibility to use that platform to do good. And so, I mean, I could go on and on about all the different times that I was impacted, but it's, sometimes we had a 98-year-old World War II veteran at one of the events and recognized him in front of, like, the audience, and the awe in his face and the tears in his eyes when he said to one of our team members, like, all these people are standing and clapping for me. Like, that's the moment, that's the moment of that whole event. It had nothing to do with the athlete. It was like, we were able to give this 98-year-old World War II veteran that moment. And those are ones that we'll always remember.
Thank you, Chellee. I mean, that makes sense. We all have a platform, right?
Yep.
So, Chellee, I just want to give you some time here now to just let the listeners and viewers know how to get a hold of you and talk about some of the projects that you're working on right now.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. You can find us on our website, capturesportsmarketing.com. We also have all of our social channels that you can certainly follow us on. We have a really busy next quarter coming up in particular, that we have the opportunity to be able to work on a lot of different projects for a lot of different causes. In the Wisconsin area, we have with the Vince Lombardi Cancer Foundation, their 52nd Lombardi Golf Classic, where Packer alumni and current Packer players will be there for that weekend to be able to raise money. We're heading down to Birmingham with Miss Cherry Starr here in the next week or so, for her to be able to announce a very, very large campaign that we'll be working on for pediatric cancer. We get to go with Aaron Jones to be able to interact with over 200 military families. Both of his parents were in the military for nearly 30 years each. And so it's really important for him to be able to, provide joy to these, families that sometimes, parents are overseas, and be able to be reunited with them. We get to do golf outings and football camps and galas and campaigns. Another one that we have coming up with Aaron Jones is we created a Yards for Shoes campaign for him. And the reason that we did that was we heard his parents talking about when the boys were younger, when he and his twin brother were younger, they would always donate shoes to youth athletics for kids. And so we created a campaign called Yards for Shoes. So for every yard that Aaron gets in a game, a pair of shoes will be donated to a child in need. So partnering with Cousins next month, we're going to be distributing 1,025 pairs of shoes throughout the state of Wisconsin to children that are in need of new shoes.
That's a lot of shoes.
That's a lot of shoes.
That's a lot of shoes.
It's a lot of shoes.
And then Chellee, you have a podcast if you want to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So ours is called Athletes Doing Good. Jen Latta in the Wisconsin area, many know her from ESPN Milwaukee and Good Karma Brands. She's also on the national level with ESPN and College Game Day. We talk with athletes. It's called Athletes Doing Good. We talk with them about who the individual is behind the uniform or behind the jersey or under that helmet, and find out what they're doing with their platform to do good within the world. So it's fun for us. It's a different side of the athlete that not a lot of individuals get to see, and we have a lot of good laughs with it.
Chellee, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate your insights. Again, I'm a fan, as you know, and again, really appreciate your time today.
Well, certainly appreciate it and love what you are doing for so many entrepreneurs, because, man, do we need it. Being an entrepreneur, it's hard. And for us to be able to, I'm a huge believer in continuing to learn each and every day. And it's podcasts like yours that we are able to learn from.
The Fractional Executive podcast is hosted by me, Ryan Kauth. You can get a hold of me at ryankauth.coach. And again, to grow the show, please like, subscribe, follow, share the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. And again, we want this to be interactive, so please drop comments below. I read those. I can pass those on to Chellee as well, and some of our other podcast guests. The Fractional Executive podcast is produced by Influencer.tv, the great team of Mark Livingston, Adam Marino, Brian Allen, and Chris Drees.